Good morning. It is 6:37 a.m. on Wednesday, February 10th, 2016. I'm Christiana Ellis. This is 5 more minutes. I just got up. That's one of the things I say, right? More tea from the patented trademark giant mug of tea. You have to say it in that tone of voice too, or else it violates the trademark. Uh, Today is one of those mornings where I'm feeling extra sleepy, even though I went to bed early last night. And I think I've talked about this before on these videos because of how tired I am in the morning is a regular topic. That often you feel like, but I went to bed early, why am I still tired? Except that often the only reason you went to bed early is because you had already been sleep deprived for several nights in a row and you're feeling tired. It's like, oh boy, I'd better get to bed early. So the extra hour of sleep you get by going to bed early doesn't make up for the 6 hours deficit of sleep you were already running under. Slurp that into the mug. So, another brief observation is that Luna is very good at stopping barking and coming to see me when I ask her to. Um, but she's so good at it that sometimes I suspect she is barking so that I will call her and praise her for stopping. That's one of the perils of having a smart dog. You know, dumb dogs, maybe they don't learn stuff as much, but they also don't trick you or try to outthink your methods. Um, who knows? So yesterday I didn't get done nearly everything that I was hoping to get done because just working on Phyllis Esposito uh, took way longer than usual. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And one is that writing a mystery where I don't plan things out in advance is complicated. Or certainly it is, at least if I have any interest in having things actually resolve in a coherent manner and tie up loose ends and so on, which I do. I don't promise to tie up every single loose end, but I am interested in having an ultimately satisfying experience. And yet, when I am plotting each episode with more of an eye on, ooh, how can I make this problem worse, or whatever, that that leads after a while to having a lot of far-ranging things that are not coming together in a coherent way. And so occasionally I have to try to steer some of that back into what can actually be a story. And that part is harder. So even though today's installment of the story only really reflects a tiny piece of what was going on behind the scenes, yesterday's writing took a lot more behind the scenes stuff where I was having to try to figure out, like, what are the actual answers to some of these things that where something has already happened, so it's not future plotting, but Phyllis does not yet understand the details of what happened. And trying to figure out some of that so that I can make new things fit the pattern. It's difficult, and I've been, so I had to do some extra work on that, and it's definitely it's a little bit frustrating just because compared to the installments where anything can happen, it feels a lot more restrictive, which is, I mean, part of what's fun about writing this serial is kind of the freedom that it allows. And so when the structure has to kind of creep back in a little bit, that makes it feel a little bit uh, more difficult to write. And yet at the same time, I am willing to put that work in because I know that it will produce a more satisfying end result. And I'm glad to do that. Yeah, yeah. Because first of all, what I'm imagining is not any kind of like a, well, today's installment was number 41. So in number 52, this is going to happen. And number 64, that's going to happen. It's more just a matter of things like, okay, so way back in 37, this thing happened, and Phyllis doesn't understand why, but do I know what happened? And I think that it's important for me to have at least a working theory on a lot of that stuff, even if I want to later change my mind. Just because that will allow me. It is one of the things that a mystery works. It's a little bit like a stage play, where it's easy to be deceived that what you're seeing on stage during the performance is all that's happening, when in reality, you know that behind the scenes they've got people working on the sets, moving stuff around. They've got people managing the props. They've got people doing makeup. You've got, characters moving over to do a costume change. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in order to produce the overall effect. And so the actual story and Phyllis's involvement in it is just what you see on stage. And in order to try to make it happen, I'm having to move all of the other pieces around. Anyway, I hope it's satisfying so far. At least a couple of people have told me they like it. So, in the meantime, part of what I didn't get done was a little bit more research into Patreon, which I am still considering. So, in any case, hopefully they won't all take as long as it did last night, just because part of the only thing that this allows this whole project to work is that usually I can write each day's installment relatively quickly, and it doesn't take all evening to do. Um, so if it always takes all evening, then I wouldn't be able to sustain it. So hopefully I've untangled a few knots for myself in the background, and we'll be able to continue proceeding at the current pace of one daily installment per day. So, Giant Mug of Tea and I, we're working on it. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.